When we're doing content, I think one of the key things that viewers are looking for is just how relaxed we are. And I mean, why wouldn't we be relaxed? And I think the problem is because we are just we're just thinking of a trillion things. We're just being distracted. I just now, I just finished up a live stream, and now it's just worrying. Actually, during the live stream, I really had to make sure that I was focused, and paying attention. And that meant that I had to forget about things like people around me and the conversations that they're having. I'm not one of those people who can multitask and focus at trillion things. And so I think the key thing here is to absolutely be relaxed and to listen and to understand what is being said when, for example, a live stream is going on. So creating content is a really important thing. And the reason for that is because, well, as the saying goes, squeaky wheel gets the grease. I never really understood the phrase or knew of its existence or even appreciated its meaning until a few years ago. And what that means is that visibility is really important. Now, I appreciate that in this day and age that, we are in the age of AI and we are worried about privacy. Trust me, I was in that camp before. But, in this day and age, like, people are just collecting our information without our consent. The moment we just step out of our homes, we are fair game. Someone can just record us and capture all our details. So the point about privacy goes out the window. Now, about shyness and all that, trust me, I'm the shyest guy around. I mean, really, I'm not the life of the party. I can't do stand-up comedy. I can't, crack jokes without people rolling their eyes. But I think the key takeaway here is just courage. And courage is just something that is so valuable. And it looks like an insurmountable cliff, to overcome. But I think that if you look at the ROI of courage, it's absolutely worthwhile. So I'd like to share about, for example, when I was an employee of a large company, and being courageous helped me climb the corporate ladder. So I never really understood what it meant to have visibility. I always thought that if I were in my corner and just doing my own thing and trying to get things done, I would get by. I mean, I was just getting my pay, and I was putting food on the table, and that's it. But I began to be quite frustrated because I wasn't seeing progress at work, despite all the amount of work I put in, and I still remember the hours. I mean, I was up to 1 a.m. trying to do some really cutting edge technical stuff. I was an engineer then, and I thought that I'd get appreciated for my efforts. But alas, that just never materialized. So I began to understand how important it was to boost my personal brand and grow visibility. And I was just watching some content on YouTube, and they were just talking about how it's important to make yourself visible, because if people don't know you exist in the company. I mean, I remember the incident where in a big US firm, there was a sensational story about an employee who passed away for days at her desk, and no one even took notice. So that's an extreme analogy, but that is a perfect illustration of how important it is to be visible. And in this day and age where layoffs dominate the news, and companies are facing pretty challenging economic troubles, I think it's really important for people at the bottom to make themselves be known by senior management. And you might roll your eyes and say, oh, look, that's crazy. I mean, I'm part of the payroll. Surely, I must be knowing you. But the fact of the matter is, if you sit down at board meetings and if you talk to senior executives, they just don't have the time to be aware of every single person in the company and the achievements that people have put in, despite the amount of hours and the amount of work that people have put in. So if you think that you can, your work speaks for itself, I've got news for you. It doesn't work. I mean, you could be one of those really brilliant individuals, but for the majority of people, I think a more useful investment of time is to actually show up at corporate events and go straight, to shake the hand warmly, firmly, don't crush the hand though, of the CEO and senior executives, the CXOs, and just to relax and chill out and just register on their radar. I'll tell you why. Well, because when the next time they meet, the more you repeat this and show up on their in their thought space, they'll think about you, they'll remember you. You register in their conversations when they're having the catch-ups and their meetings. Who knows, someone might mention your name and your brand gets amplified because someone remembered you at the C-suite, at the board level. So, well, it worked for me. I got to have very rapid ascension in a company when I tried this, and I got into a special squad, and I appreciate my colleagues. If you are my colleague whom I got to work with in that special squad, and you know who you are, I really appreciate the time with you. But I want to say that I think that my schmoozing efforts got me there. So now, of course, this doesn't work in all companies. I don't think it works at all in small companies because, well, everyone knows one another. But if you happen to be in a large company, what a privilege it is to work in a large company in this day and age. It's a wonderful career booster, and it really helps, I feel, for your career as you navigate these mad times where layoffs are just around the corner. So in order, I think, to minimize your chances of being in that list, why not give it a try? Show up at a corporate event, make a beeline for the CEO and CFO, and just look, it may not work, but why not? Courage has its dividends.